Hi all, welcome to this video on the Jungian function of introverted thinking. I'll be looking at a factor of introverted thinking I call analysis, and I'll be talking about my opinions and beliefs on this. But before we get underway, some corrections in the first video I did on my opinions and beliefs about this cognitive function. I said, and I think the video is on a different channel, but I said that I thought Steve Wozniak's MBTI type was INTP, and I've changed my mind, and my opinion now is an ENTP, although he'd know better. Again, it's just my opinion. Also, I've changed some of the words I've used to describe the factors, or my beliefs about the factors of subjective thinking. So one's in black, type I'm pretty confident with. The others are work in progress, diagnostics. Subjective thinking, I believe, has a way of solving problems, although diagnostics may itself be a factor of it. Other types of cognition also have ways of solving problems as well, so that's kind of work in progress. Development's easy, just look around you at the progress of the technological change that's going on, and that comes from subjective thinking, in my opinion, or my belief. Literacy somehow, not only is arithmetic come from this type of cognition, but I also think reading and writing. But having said that, poetry is very subjective feeling. So again, that's kind of work in progress. One that isn't is analysis. I believe you can break analysis into three factors: systems, factors, and measures. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, systems, anything complex. So analysis is a way of bringing awareness to complexity, and it's probably the only way to do it. And one way that's done is for searching for underlying systems. Now, anatomy is a branch of science. The body is complex and has underlying systems, one of which is the lymphatic system. Factoring, what I mean by that is just breaking complexity down into parts and looking at the parts. So that makes it easier to understand. Probably the classic example, that's the periodic table of elements. Okay, measures. I've got there an example of something that can be measured, in this case torque or tau, which is the lever arm, which is the radius of the arm times the angle of the arm, which is usually 90 degrees. So R sine 90 is just R, and the force applied, and this is a unit not of energy, which is measured in joules, but force vector. So the unit of measurement is in meters or Newton meters. Okay, so how does that work with real objects? Well, not all, but some real objects, so I'm looking at extroverted sensing here, are complex. Now, of course, with a car, there's practice involved, which is, I think, not I sense, I think is objective sensing's way of learning. So there's a skill in driving which you have to practice, but to become aware of how a car works, because it's complex, you need analysis. Other examples: helicopters, fuse boxes, computers, aircraft. These are real objects which are complex. Okay, so complexity, we analyze it. In the case of a car, we're looking for, because we're analyzing it, we're looking for underlying systems, and in the case of a car, an example of that's the ignition system. Break it down into its factors, which are called parts. In the case of real objects here, usually called parts. Yep. And some examples there of measures in a car. Now this spec is not for a Corolla, I think it's some kind of Chrysler, but for 2.2 litre engines, the gap on the spark plug is 1.27 millimeters, so millimeters is a measure of distance, and the torque with which it's screwed into the head, the cylinder head, is 17 Newton meters. Okay. Analysis and objective intuition. Okay, we've all got all 8 types of cognition. It's just objective intuition is my 7th. So I think objective intuition's version of practice and analysis is synthesis. So take the helicopter, the car, the computer, the fuse box, the aircraft, and you put them all together, and what do you get? So you synthesize. Analysis may be something similar, but just on a different part of the spectrum, maybe. And how do I justify that belief? Well, okay, on the left, I think these fellows here, 3 of them were ENTPs. On the left, a digital image of a painting of Galileo, who I know for someone who promoted the idea of a heliocentric solar system. Jung, amongst other things, is known for thinking about something as complex as consciousness, for heaven's sake, although intangible rather than tangible. And he thought you could break it down into 8 factors, which are called functions. And on the right, a photograph of a painting of Joule, who thought that energy needed a unit of measurement. And of course, for ENTPs, introverted thinking is their 2nd cognitive function. Anyway, that concludes my analysis of my analysis. Go the ENTPs.